Welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is pressure. We tend to experience pressure as something that exists outside of us, and today we get to talk about what the dynamics are of this pressure experience and how we might better manage it and ourselves in regard to it. So it should be a fun conversation. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. What a great way to start the week. So we're going to talk about pressure. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome. So, pressure. I imagine that most of us from one time to another experience pressure, and we often relate to it in ways as if it's external from ourselves. Like, why are you pressuring me? I feel pressured. I think that we don't necessarily take responsibility for I feel pressured. In other words, that I'm complicit in creating that experience of pressure where there are demands upon us, there are deadlines, there are requirements that need fulfilling, and we integrate them or we receive them in such a way that we experience pressure. And let's look a little bit more deeply into what that experience of pressure is and how it's generated. So the experience that I have when I feel pressured, there's sort of a collection of emotions when I notice that I'm feeling pressured, and I'm teasing these apart. One is anxiety. It's like I have so much to do. I don't know how I'm going to get it done. There's this feeling of anxiety and tension and contraction. And there might be a feeling of resentment and anger for people that are pressing to get certain things done within a certain time frame. And so when there are external forces that are exerting a desire or a will, we still have the opportunity to choose how we're going to respond to those inputs. And as always, self-awareness is our key to being able to move through these kinds of circumstances and potentially grow from them, learn from them, etc. So when we notice that we're feeling pressured from demands, what kinds of responses can we have? First of all, we get to manage our internal response, to notice, am I getting angry? Am I getting frustrated? What's behind that? So to be accountable, to be responsible for our own internal workings rather than acting out with that. We can express our frustration, we can express our annoyance or our anger, perhaps, if we are having input from external forces. The thing is that if we're going to express those emotions, how do we do that in a way that is responsible and accountable? And it behooves us to look at what is it inside us, what's the mechanism inside us that's generating that response? Why anger? What is my internal dialogue going on that is resulting in my feeling angry? So that's valuable. I mean, there are times when anger is an appropriate response. How we channel it, how we express it is also really an important factor. We can act out, or we can express what's going on and move forward. So I have an example of a situation where I was very frustrated and angry, and I was able to express it in a way that I didn't have to act out. I was able to just say, you know what, I'm really pissed. And we moved from there, and it turned into a wonderful situation, actually. So I'll outline it here so that we can kind of see how it goes well. It can go well when we are responsible for our feelings. So a little while ago, I had arranged to get a hitch put on my car. It was a special kind of hitch, and my car I have a Mini Cooper, an old Mini Cooper, and it needed a special hitch. So I looked online, I found a place that could do this. By the way, if you need a hitch installed on your vehicle, U-Haul does this. So I found a U-Haul. I went over there, I talked to the people, they told me it needed a special thing. We made sure there would be plenty of time to get the part in. I made the appointment, I confirmed the appointment, and I had to get up early to make the appointment, like really early, because I wanted to have it be the first appointment of the day. So I get there and I'm told, we don't do that here, and you're not on the schedule. And so I said, well, yeah, I got a confirmation. Here's the confirmation. I'm on the schedule. Well, we don't do that here. And so this was frustrating because I had arranged the day to be able to accommodate this. And I could have had a hissy fit. I said, I'm really pissed. And they were like, I get it. I understand why. Let me see, because I didn't holler and scream and whatever, they were eager and generous to try to help me find a solution. And they called another location and called in a favor and arranged for me to go to this other location which was a half hour away, and I would have to wait. But in any case, I went, and because I say it was because I was able to flow with this through whatever grace. They gave me a discount to compensate for the extra parts and all kinds of craziness. It ended up being a long drawn out thing, but in the end, the people were really, really generous and very, very kind. And I'm getting taken care of what needs taking care of. So I could be really angry. I could be really frustrated. I could have let it ruin my day, ruin my interactions with these people. I could have put up roadblocks that might have ended up with a much worse outcome. And the question is, what benefit would that have had for me? So this was pressure. There was any pressure that I might have felt would have been self-imposed. Like there was potentially pressure to get there on time, pressure to get to this other place, pressure to get it done because I had a certain time frame and no other openings to be able to accomplish this. And through whatever act of grace, I was able to manage myself without getting overwrought. I had another experience with pressure. It's interesting, how we might as well use life's opportunities to learn from, right? So another situation where I was being asked to make a request of someone else that I did not feel comfortable making because I felt that that request would put a demand on them, put them in an awkward situation, and I didn't want to do that. And I felt pressured to ask that question. And it was a very interesting scenario because there was upset all around because the people that were asking me to make that request felt that it was a reasonable request to make, and I did not. And so yeah, I was having two people trying to convince me to make a request, and they were very, very persistent in their request of me. And it was interesting. It was an interesting dynamic because they were telling me it's a simple yes or no question. And yet they were making a request of me. And I said no. And it wasn't a simple yes or no question because they kept challenging my no. And the more they challenged my no, the more pressured I felt. And so in looking at what that dynamic was, I realized that the pressure I felt was founded in conflict that I had. The conflict was I had my own opinion, my own sensibility about this, my strong feelings about it. And I also had strong feelings about not wanting to disappoint them and not wanting to be hurtful in any way to them. So this inner conflict that I had between my desire and my desire to fulfill their desire created a conflict that resulted in me internally generating frustration and anger, because and resentment for being put in a situation where I had to contend with this conflict within myself. So rather than saying, making it about them putting pressure on me, I felt like they were putting pressure on me. But in fact, the pressure was self-generated. So they were asserting their desire. I was asserting my desire. And my conflict was wanting to honor my feelings and also wanting to honor theirs, knowing that they were not happy with me over my decision. I took on as an inner conflict, which felt like I could call it pressure. And so ultimately I said, look, I'm taking responsibility for this being my decision, for I get that you're not happy about it, and I'm sticking to my decision. This is my decision. And I did feel angry. I did feel angry. And it was interesting to look at, well, what was that? The anger was because I was faced with this conflict and I didn't want to be faced with that conflict. And I had the ability in that moment to be making up all kinds of stories about their disrespecting me. And I did feel that, wait a second, I get your point. I don't feel like you're getting my point. They didn't feel like I was getting theirs because I didn't agree. And it's all very interesting how we will tend to blame others for our own experience, right? I was upset. And I was upset because, and I was able to identify it in the moment, thankfully, but I was upset because I wanted to be able to make them happy, but I chose not to make them happy at my expense. I chose to maintain my own alignment with myself. That can be a challenging thing. It can be a challenging thing to hold in your own alignment with other pulls and demands on your choices. So how do we navigate that? How do we navigate that when the stimulus, the external stimulus is very, very strong? Ideally, we can find our center. Ideally, we can come back to our own balance. As a person who's very empathic, I notice that I can get thrown off balance by being very receptive to other people's emotions and learning how to integrate those emotions or to navigate what's mine and what's not mine is something that can be a very challenging thing. and to deal with our own emotions responsibly can be a very challenging thing, particularly in an environment that's highly charged. And being able to dissect it, being able to identify. Hello, Juliana. Welcome from Ireland. How wonderful to have you joining us. Being able to identify what's going on for us, rather than being taken by the freight train of our own emotions, can be extremely challenging, particularly when there are demands being expressed externally. And the bottom line is to, within the context of those demands, to tune in to what is in alignment with ourselves. So it's interesting in this situation. Juliana says, lovely to be here. No, there are no cards. Sorry, Juliana. We're just talking. We just talk on this, on the core connection, looking at navigating life. And today we're talking about navigating pressure and the experience of pressure, because we often define it as something external. There may be external influences, there may be external demands, but what we're looking at is it's the way that we internalize and metabolize and relate to those demands that is what the foundation of the experience of pressure actually is. So if we can, oftentimes we get the opportunity to look at these things in retrospect, to say, oh my gosh, what in the world is it that happened there? What happened? And I don't know about you, but there is a portion of myself that that wants to make people happy. We could say people pleaser, but a recovering people pleaser, in that I used to acquiesce to the demands of others and then feel resentful, not really being in alignment with those demands, right? So I would go along to get along and then feel resentful and angry. And so I have cultivated a greater sense of what's in alignment for me, and will stand for that more readily, so that I don't end up feeling angry and resentful toward others. And also angry and resentful to myself for doing things that violated my own values, my own needs, etc. So this whole idea of pressure and pleasing, I think that there's an aspect of people pleasing that is integral to that, even when we impose pressure upon ourselves. So when we look at I'm feeling pressured because I have all these things to do, right? Well, most often, the whole list of all those things to do is self-imposed. And the deadlines are often self-imposed. And the priorities are often self-imposed. And so it's very useful to look at what's driving this sense of pressure. So maybe we have a list that's 1.5 yards long of things that we need to do. Maybe we can look at that and really reprioritize to say, well, what really is important, and who says it's important, and what's important about it. to maybe alleviate some of that experience of urgency and demand that we are be acting at the effect of, rather than from a place of choice. So that's it to discuss pressure this morning. I invite you to look into where you feel pressured in your life and where that pressure is coming from, and how your internal integration of the demands maybe can be reshifted in a way to alleviate some of that pressure that, or maybe all of that pressure that you experience. So that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. So Juliana says, when we make choices from within, we don't go without. Thanks for your message. Thank you, Juliana. Anyway, it's wonderful to have had you join us this morning. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to like and follow both Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the chat, and I'm sorry, in the description. And so until next time, it is always, always, always a pleasure and a privilege to spend this time together musing on what it is to be human. So until next time, so much love to you.